Welcome to Get Better Basketball Live. I'm Coach DeMarco, and today I have Coach Austen Hurley, head basketball coach at Parker High School in South Dakota, and we're going to talk about breaking the press. You're not going to want to miss this episode. But before I jump into it, make sure you hit that like button down below, turn on your notifications, and subscribe to the Get Better Basketball YouTube channel for more great video breakdowns each and every week. Another Get Better Basketball Live is up now. Well, Coach, this next topic here, we're going to talk press breakers. And you have a universal press break that you use for different types of zone presses. And this is something that I think this is probably going to be the most watched video because I get questions all the time from coaches about what to do against different types of presses. And you're going to hit that with one press breaker. So I'm excited to jump into this one, and just tell us a little bit about this press breaker and where you got it from.
So yeah, this press breaker, it's a 2-on-2 press break. We ran something similar with it where usually, when you inbound the ball to an outlet, you keep a guy behind the ball so you can reverse and have a safety net. It was a few years ago or 2 years ago, something like that. I was on Twitter and I saw the European leagues, the pros, and they called it jet, and it was a jet action, and all they did was inbound it, and they send the inbounder straight to the middle of the court, and it was usually their point guard, because in European ball, usually the point guard takes out because they give the ball right back on a reversal, and it's your fastest guy. So he went through, he got the ball back, and they broke it, and what helped is that the team that was running a zone press is, well, how do you beat a zone press is you have to put someone in the middle to occupy that space. So that's a big component, and there's things that we did with this beforehand, where it's a lot like the 4-cross where you get it in and then you have guys going from here, back to there. But I feel like with sending this player that jets through, it keeps it simple. You don't have guys thinking a lot. It's get the ball. If we can get it to the middle, that's great. But the goal is to get the ball reversed once, look up sideline, and then get an advantage on there. So yeah, I'm excited to share this one.
Yeah, I can't wait to take a look at it. And I know that you said there was some other positioning where you had some of the other players that really helped to make this work. So let's take a look at the diagram here and what it looks like against some different presses.
This is our universal press break. It's how to beat every press with a 2-on-2 formation. You can do this with run and jump as well, and it works well too with that press. Once again, I'm Coach Austen Hurley. My email is right there for you to, if you want the diagrams or anything, or if you have questions. So the first thing we're going to look at here is the 1-2, 1-1, or the diamond press, is what a lot of people call the diamond one. So off a make or free throw, what happens is, and these numbers are irrelevant, you put the best players in the best situation possible. So you have your inbounder, you get them in, and what we teach, and when we teach this against different presses, is that against, especially the diamond one, is we need to catch it above the box. We don't want to catch it down in the corners because those are easy presses. So like I said before, where I took from the European League is this jet action. So once the ball leaves three's hands and gets to the one, he is going directly to the middle. The reason we do this is to occupy the middle, because in this press, the 2 and the 4 are going to have to cover the middle. So in this, what happens is we have our 4 and our 5, and this isn't my 4 and 5 in a season. This is a 6'2" center that we have, and this is a 5'9" guard that we have. So the goal is to jet this guy through to occupy this middle. The goal to look for in this is that 4 can come and lift, and then if we can get that pass, we got a 2-1 down here. But the goal of this is actually to get a reversal in this second court. Is you can see 3 is still occupying space here, where X2 has to be over. So that way, when you reverse it, that makes that trap a lot longer, which allows this 2 to dribble and this corner 5 to lift, and we pitch the ball ahead, and this X4 is going to try to get over here. If X4 does try to cut this off, the 3 is open in the middle here, where 2 can pass to 3 in the middle as well. And then when we get that, you can see that we have either a potential 3-on-1, a 2-on-1, or a 3-on-2 if that X4 is back. So basically what we're trying to do is get in a position where we have the advantage against the press, where we can get layups and put the defense at a disadvantage for pressing us.
And coach, if that two player, just looking on the last diagram here, if they don't get over, you could hit that 3 player just jetting right down the middle of the press, it looks like, and then they can hit either side and then just kind of continue down the middle. Is that right?
Yep. So this third frame is if you get the ball to the 1, and let's say you have a really fast guard or player and you can get it to the middle, or maybe it's a 6'6" guy that can see over everyone, is they pass to the middle here, and then these guys are going to lift. And then what happens is they can square up and pass, and now you got a 2-on-1 on the backside here.
I love that. You know, there's different options that you have out of it. And knowing the diamond press, you're going to get that, you know, that initial trap. And you brought up a great point here, and I have to highlight it because, you know, I use the diamond press for a lot of years. We were man-to-man as well as some zone pressure. And when we went zone, we liked diamond as our zone press. And we obviously wanted to force the ball into that coffin corner. And we found that a lot of teams threw it in that corner. We got that initial trap and we would adjust, and we really could put a lot of pressure on them. So great point that you bring up here, coach, is not catching the ball in that corner, really trying to catch that up a little bit higher, which is going to allow this press to flow. I have to imagine if your 1 got pushed down into the corner, it would make this a little bit harder for you. It might still be okay because you might be able to hit the 3 down the middle, but it's a little bit harder if you get forced into the corner.
Yep. So if we do get forced in the corner, which does happen, the nice thing about jetting this player through the middle is that it needs to keep X2 honest. Is if X2 is going to stay over here, because if they do trap and that you have this midline pass, that's where X2 gets all their steals, is trying to pass it back. Whereas if we jet through, now 2 can become available here. There's no one here. And now we can pass it over to this side. And now we can push sideline because that's a long sprint for X2. And it also allows, preoccupies this X4 so that X4 can't come up and stop 2 from dribbling up the sideline. So yeah, those are great points. Yeah, we just don't want to catch it there. And I found that jetting a guy through is the easiest thing, and it works.
Yeah, I love it, coach. I love the concept, and you're really attacking the pressure, where this is a press they want to really funnel you into the corner and attack you. But by putting that guy down the middle, you know, you're really attacking the press. And I'll be honest, running it for a lot of years, I've maybe one time, not this exact press breaker, I've seen a team really zip someone down the middle, but you don't see a lot of it. You see that player more as a reversal player. So defenses probably have not seen this very frequently, at least from my experience. I'm sure there's someone else that might use it, but not as frequently. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of coaches use it other than the European, and that's where European coaches, and that's where I stole it. They do a really good job over there. So yeah, and when we do this, we do it well, and teams don't press very much when we break it consistently.
I can imagine. Very tough, and especially if you only run like one type of zone press, it's very hard to adjust diamond to this. There's probably a couple things you can do, but it's not foolproof, especially in the flow of a game. You'd have to spend a lot of time talking about how to game plan for this. So do you use it against, now you mentioned some other presses that you use it against. So this is diamond. Do you have it against some other presses as well?
Yep. So the next one is which one is becoming really popular is the Villanova 1-2-2 press, which really works well with teams that run the 1-2-2 defense. So with this as well, and I haven't experienced a 1-2-2 defense yet. We haven't had very many coaches come out with it. So with this, we do the same thing. You just get this, the 3 into the 1, and we're going to occupy this middle. With that being said, with occupying the middle, is that this X1 and X2 want to trap in this 3/4 court. So 2 needs to stay behind the ball here, and we're still going to do the same thing. If we can bring this 4 up, the X4 is going to stay here. If not, if the X4 stays down, if we can get this flash and get here, we do got to worry about X2 trapping down here. We don't want to be in these dead zones or these coffin corners, like you said. But the goal is to, in the second court, is to reverse through the 2. And if you occupy this middle, this X3 cannot come over. It's a long distance to come over here. For that, you dribble your 5 lifts and you get it across half court and you break it. And if the X3 does want to stay over here and you reverse it to the 2 passes to the 3, and then you break it by getting across half court. The big thing that I found is if you occupy the middle in any zone press, you got to get it to one side, get it to the other side, and then zip it up to the other side of the court and break it, and then have patience and just not speed up the game. And then this part is the jet action, where if the 3 passes to the 1 here and we pass it to the middle, which is dangerous in my opinion against the 1-2-2, but it may happen, is now if we do get it to the middle and that X3 comes up, we now have 2 lifting and we can kick it here. And now we're in an attack position where we have a 3-on-2 advantage.
I love this, Coach. I know I said this the last time, but you guys are really like attacking the press, and if you're a team that has a full court pressure defense, I keep saying it, but you want to put pressure on the opponent, whether it's the 1-2-2 where you're forcing them to work the clock and make some mistakes, or a diamond press where you're a little bit more aggressive up front. And, the scenarios are spinning in my head here. The first instance where 1 goes across the 2, the 1 player kind of looks like they're attacking a little, baits the trap, skips it across, you're getting up the floor. And of course, if 5 gets it, I'm looking at that middle diagram, they can hit 3 right down the middle. And, there's a lot of options there. And then I'm thinking, okay, now you've thrown it across and you've talked about this, a ball fake across, and the defense might react to that. And you might be able to find that middle player, situationally. It might not be there, like you said, against this type of press, but just thinking the defense is you're forcing the defense to react to what you do with your press breaker, which is unique because a lot of teams get pressed and they're like a little cautious, they're a little bit nervous, and they tend to make mistakes. And I just love the mentality this puts in a team where they're really attacking. And I have to envision when you're using this press breaker, you're getting some layups or some really 3-on-2 type of looks. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So the key parts of this is when you're installing this is making sure you're repping 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and doing those consistently to put your guys in position to where they know it needs to be transition points. And that I teach my players for how many defenders there are, that's how many passes it should take to break it. So if we have a 2-on-1, it should take 1 pass to make the layup. If it's 3-on-2, it should take 2 passes, and so on and so forth. So that's what I teach my guys is you got to know numbers. And if you don't have numbers, it's okay. Just stop. And if we can't attack, we're already attacked in the half court. Let's set up our offense and we go. But we do I teach attack mentality. You watch the movie Miracle. There's a part in the movie, it still sticks in my head when they're talking about beating the Soviet-Russian team is you don't defend them, you attack them. And it still sticks in my head is they attack their defense and they attack their offense. They don't let them sit back and do whatever they want.
That's a great example, Coach. And I love the idea of repping those 2-on-1s, those 3-on-2s with your players and really encouraging them to attack. The 1 pass at 2-on-1 or 2 passes, 3-on-2, really, really sound advice for coaches out there who are listening or for their players. I like everything about this. I like the attacking mentality and the fact that, you're making the defense pay. You want to press us, you want to try to put pressure on us, we're going to make you pay. And if you are a full court pressure team and you get some layups and that coach decides to pull off the press, which a lot of people do, I might not, I'm a little more stubborn, but maybe that was to a fault too. But a lot of coaches are going to pull off their press here. And now they're getting out of their element. So there's just so many positives in this. We saw the diamond press. We saw the 1-2-2. What else do you have for us here?
So now we have the infamous 2-2-1 press, which is the Vance Wahlberg dribble drive motion press. And I run this press. So I know this the back of my hand, and I played the diamond press. I was part of that. So I know that. And the big thing with this is if you want to be good at breaking presses, you need to know how the presses work, and you need to study those presses, even though you don't run them. You have to study them so you can find the weaknesses. So with this 2-2-1, we do the exact same thing. We get the ball in, like what you talk about the coffin corner. We talk about half court. That's where we want to press, is bait them into a speed drill into this coffin corner. So what we do is we pass the ball in, and with the 2-2-1 press, depending on how you teach it, I teach my guys to bait here. So we send a guy through the middle when we break it. What that does is this X4 will come over, this X2 will take middle. And what we still do is pass the ball to the 2, as you can see in the second frame, and we are going to dribble up the sideline and lift the 5 or whoever's in that corner, break the press, and then the 3 is still coming middle, and you might get a 2-on-1, a 3-on-1, or a 3-on-2 with this. And then, so just like before, our goal is to get into the 1. We don't want to go up, dribble up the sideline, because that's where the presses happen. We want to get the defense shifted to one side, and then we want to get the ball so that way they're late on their shifts coming back. And then, so if we do get the ball to the middle, let's say they're worried about this 2-player in this third court. If 2 there's, we can get the ball to the middle, then we're going to lift our guys up into positions in these open areas where 3 is going to take an attack here and make X3 and X4 come after whichever. And I teach my guys, whatever defender comes after you, that's the way you pass the ball, because you're going to attack where they're coming from. Because this, if X3 comes up, 4 is going to be open. If 4 comes up, 5 is going to be open. And then if we get it across, it's a 2-on-1 on the backside. But, you know, with this being said, I mean, it's not bulletproof, obviously. You got to have the athletes and you got to have the patience to run this. But the way we teach it is just, it's got to be one pat inbound, reversal up the sideline, and it's broken. And we do it, and we do it well, and that's how you break this press. The big thing is just setting that jet player through the inbounder, because it occupies that middle, and those guys really have to focus on taking that middle away.
Yeah, and you know, I'm looking at the middle frame too, and I know not always ideal. You have to have high IQ players, but I'm thinking that 2-player, as they catch that, let's just say X5 starts to cheat a little bit, take away that pass, which could be an advantage. It means they're coming up too far, but just hypothetical, and that 2 starts to dribble and bring that trap to them a little bit. It's an easy, before the defense can rotate back, you might have a shuffle into the middle to that 3-player and another attack. But again, you know, the defense is going to have to adjust, right? You keep going up the sideline, they start to over adjust and compensate, and now you have other options. So just seeing different things. And again, obviously you don't want to dribble into a trap spot, but if you have a high IQ player, they take 1 or 2 dribbles and bite the trap, and then they can dump it off into the middle, and then 3 can be attacking. So,
yep. And what teams do really well too, what really well coached teams is they know the reversal is going to happen. So what they'll do is they'll cheat this sideline, but then that's when we got to know, as you find this guy with your eyes, and then that's where you hit the 3. Or in some certain situations, we'll lift this 4 here, and we'll make this diagonal pass across the court, and we'll catch to this 3-point line, and we'll attack, because this X5, what teams will do is they'll either cheat this sideline, or they'll bring this X5 and cheat here. We dribble up and we get here, and then there's a layup.
You almost force defenses to walk their press back a little bit with those 2 corner players. We haven't talked a lot about them, but that 4-5 player, and I know it's not necessarily post players in those spots, but you almost, especially if it's a great shooter that has the green light where you can zip it up there and that's their layup. They can take a corner 3-pointer. You know, they're open, 5 doesn't get out. You have a rebounder coming in like the 4-player. You know, some coaches might say, hey, zip it up there and knock down that shot. Or obviously, ideally, you're attacking the basket. But if it's a shooter, you might get some looks that way too. But but I just feel like those two corner players almost force the defense to kind of bring their press back a little bit. If you keep everyone up, you're at a disadvantage on the back end of the press. So those players I feel like are critical. As much as that guy coming down the middle, that's key, probably the key. But I feel like those corner players play a really big role as well.
Yeah, those corner players, especially like when you look at the diamond press, we go back to that real quick, is what a lot of coaches do is they actually put two guys at the half court line and they bring more guys on that side. Where I teach our guys, no, we don't want more guys on that side. We want to space it out. Where these diamond presses now have to cushion back and be like, okay, well, there's two guys back here. Who do we defend? And that's why we keep those guys in the corner. And then when you teach this, you really have to stress those guys. I understand you have the itch to come up, but you have to stay back until the ball is being attacked to your sideline. And now you can come up, because if you come up, now you're bringing everyone in together. You just need to step back and let those guys, trust those guys to make plays.
Yeah, tons of options here. And I just wanted to ask one more question about that inbounder. You have him listed as the 3 guy, but whatever it is personnel, I know you said European FIBA teams make that their point guard. So whoever it is for your team, they're hightailing it out of there, right? They're throwing the ball in bounds. And is it a full-on sprint? And at what point do they throttle down at some point in the zone, or what does that look like? Are they sprinting to a certain point on the floor? Just so coaches have an idea, what that sort of jet action, I guess, coming down the middle of the press. What should that look like?
So yeah, that they stop right before half court or right at a half court. They don't go all the way down. They just pass and sprint towards the middle and occupy that space. Now, if they catch it on the sprint, they're looking straight ahead and looking to attack under control. Like in a press, we're going to catch that ball. We're going to come to 2 feet and look before we put it on the ground, so they're not getting a cheap steal. But yeah, it's a sprint towards before half court, throttle down. We're not going all the way through to the other side of the court.
And that alone, coach, if I'm as a defensive coach that ran pressure defenses, I see someone sprinting down the middle of the floor and I'm one of those, elbow players in the diamond press or half court elbow in the 2-2-1, whatever it might be, I'm going to react to them and almost jump to them, which is going to allow that pass across the court and then up the floor. So I feel like there's if you don't jump to that player, they could be open and it's off to the races. And if you do jump to them, you're giving them the reversal over to 2, and then they're attacking the press. So you're really putting defenses in a bind, with this type of press breaker.
Yeah, and that's the goal, is especially when we're on offense, is we want to attack defense and they have to read what we're doing, just like we talked about our zone offense. And the other video was we want to make the defense adjust to us. We don't want to adjust to the defense.
So, Coach, looking at this press breaker, love that it's universal. You're using it against different types of zone presses, and that's going to make it really easy for your kids. In terms of practicing this press, what are some of the key points or some advice that you have for coaches as they're thinking about incorporating, which I think there's going to be quite a few that are going to be reaching out to you too, probably, like you've had in other past videos. But, what are some of the keys for coaches as they're thinking about incorporating this video?
So, yeah, when you're incorporating this, you really have to start off with 2-on-1s, 3s-on-2s. A really good one is that it's that Spartan drill. I think you call it too. I think everyone calls it Spartan. Is you start 2-on-1 free throw, and then you add 2 players every single time. We run that drill quite a bit, and it's usually our warm-up drill where guys get used to the transition. That's where you can teach them 1 defender, 1 pass should break it, 2 defenders, 2 passes, so on and so forth. Working on transition. And then we use other press breaking drills where we do full court 3-versus-3 alley drill where players aren't allowed to dribble. They pass the ball and they can jet through if they want. If you can make that pass, make it. Or it's you come back and you break it to the half court and then you play live 3-on-3. And then when you're teaching this to your team and you're practicing it, what I like about this is it's simple. You don't need to talk about, okay, what are 4 guys doing or 5 guys doing? You literally need to talk about 3 guys. And it's literally your inbounder and your 2 outlet guys. Because the 2 corner players, all you have to tell them is stay in the corners. And then when the ball is dribbled up your way, you lift. And then the opposite player sits. And then you have 2-on-1 layups. And then what's nice about this is, to be honest, we haven't practiced our press break in probably 2 weeks. And when a team presses us, we know exactly what to do. And we'll go through it in a walkthrough, this and that. But by having a universal press break, it's second nature and the guys know exactly what to do. And it saves practice time. You know, if it's a diamond, you can draw it up. You can talk about it if it's through a walkthrough. If it's a 2-2-1 or 1-2-2, even a run and jump, it works. You just need to have calm, collected players with it. And you know what we'll do is we'll send 6 guys on the court. We'll do a 2-2-2 and try to break 6 guys, and we'll do those different styles. But yeah, it's when teaching it, you just have to keep it simple. And that's what I love about the press break. It's super simple. You don't have to teach guys, no offense on the 4 cross, but you don't have to teach guys to weave back and forth. You just teach them, hey, you're inbounding, you run right to the middle, reverse it, and go.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad you mentioned the run and jump. I was going to ask that as a coach who runs the run and jump. You know, that could give that press some problems too. You get the ball in and you shoot that guy down the middle. Typically, there's a person right on the ball who's trying to back out to get in position as that sort of jump defender. Well, if that guy just takes off and sprints, I mean, it's almost football wise, like you're just sprinting by the guy and you could hit that guy down the middle against the run and jump, or at the least it's going to clear out that defender who's typically at least a lot of times in my experience, the person on the ball ends up being the guy that kind of, or girl that turns and runs and jumps, you know, often, not 100% of the time, but often. So you're kind of running them out of the play. So I feel like there's probably some opportunities to use it against even man-to-man pressure. So truly universal, groundbreaking for coaches. I think they're going to watch this and say, why have I been doing this press break or that press break? And, you know, this is something that can be really, really simple and effective with their team. So I want to thank you for sharing this with coaches, for breaking it down and showing us diagrams of, you know, what it looks like against different presses and how it applies really universally to all those different presses.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Coach. I really appreciate being able to share my knowledge and share the game with everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. I always love having you on, talking basketball, and I'm sure we'll be doing this again in the future with some other great topics. Maybe coaches will have to share with us what they'd like us to talk about next time. I feel like you have something for all the different basketball-related topics. So thanks again for sharing.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.